Hi, welcome to the ACC Gentle Yoga at Noon. I'm Jeani, your host for the next hour. In this class, we're focused on a little warm-up in the beginning, walking meditation. That's a modified version of our sun salutations. And then we'll do a few of our basic balance exercises before we make our way down to the floor. Now, last week we were using some of the hip openers that we're going to bring forward into this week's class as well. So if you have any special props like your strap, your blocks, and you can have the blocks at the beginning of the walking meditation practice, so you can have them at the back of the mat, starting with your hands if you know you have an issue like reaching the floor or coming into your first gentle forward fold, or you can have them at the top and have it there when we go into our half lifts, just as a sort of a support. So whichever works for you, bringing your items nearby. We'll go ahead and start at the back of the mat. And as we're arriving, you don't have to change the quality of your breath. Just give yourself some time to arrive. Feel the mat under the feet. If your legs are tight, keep a gentle bend to the knees. The deeper, the better if there's a lot of stiffness in the back. With the colder weather, with the change in weather, notice how the body responds. And as we're coming into our practice, just notice how you're arriving. As our breath starts to quiet down, we'll begin to cultivate our breath, bringing the left palm to rest on our chest, right palm under the belly button. Go ahead and breathe for the next couple of breath cycles. The inhale, a brief pause, and exhale. Notice if your hands, the chest hand lifts at the top of the inhale. That brief pause before you exhale with a little more control. Gently engage the core, press in the belly hand, help express that air. And as you quiet down, the breath cycles become slower, a little longer. We'll finish cultivating our breath by opening up the space behind at the back of the throat. On both the inhales and the exhales. And connected to that ocean-like breath, we'll bring our hands down to the sides and just lifting up the feet a little bit. We'll go ahead and start our body and breath connection, standing with the feet about hips distance apart. Notice on the inhale, that energy rising from the feet, up the legs, the back, through to the crown of the head and beyond. And with an exhale, slowly feel that energy coming back, reverse order, through the body, back down the legs, to the feet, back to the earth. With the next inhale, feel that center of gravity at the soles of the feet moving towards the toes. Hopefully at the end of that inhale, you've got the edge of your toes. And with the next breath, slowly bring the center of gravity at the soles of the feet towards the heels. A slight edge there as you exhale completely. And use the next couple of breath cycles to find that heel to toe alignment and center as it travels at the soles of your feet. We'll meet at the top of the ankle, near to the heels, settling into your mountain. Go ahead and reset. You can lift the toes, lift the heels once more. Standing a little taller, a little longer in our mountain with each reiteration of mountain. We'll go ahead and feel that energy lifting from the feet all the way through the crown of the head once more, lifting upwards. And then exhale, slowly start to roll the center of gravity towards the outer right edge of the feet. The body is nice and long. The soles of the feet are on the floor. And use the next breath to inhale back up to center. exhale over to the other side. Try to keep the legs and body nice and long. And you can inhale back to center, making it a 3-part breath, exhaling to either side. And you can always just make a 2-part breath and inhale to one side, exhale to the other. But finding that horizontal mapping at the top of the feet, somewhere near to the ankles as we return home to center. Go ahead and dip into your mountain once more. You can bend the knees, you can lift a foot, especially if you have a tendency to grip the mat. Coming back into our mountain, resetting once more. We'll go ahead and feel a little taller, feel that string at the top of the crown of the head lifting upwards. We're just going to start to shift our weight from side to side until we can feel the weight moving into one side of the body, the foot. And as we shift more and more weight from side to side, see if your toes can pivot outwards just a little bit as we start to turn the upper body and sort of like a gentle, maybe 1-2 second delay as we're swiveling with the shoulders, gaining more and more momentum. Notice that the toes in the side that you're swiveling to lift up, pivoting on the heel, trying not to torque your knee. And you're essentially just letting the arms be nice and relaxed. Maybe just that swirling, twirling action just gives you enough momentum to have the hands tap against the groin, the sacrum. Just relax your shoulders. And then let that momentum die down. Peter out. We'll return to our mountain once more, bringing the feet underneath the hips, underneath the shoulders. We'll move on up to the upper body. So resetting the mountain once more. Go ahead and feel that internal rotation of the legs as you press into the balls of the feet, feeling all points of the soles of the feet if you can, just feeling a little more connected. We'll go ahead and come on up. See if you can tuck under the tailbone as we move on up to the shoulders. We're feeling that shoulder hopefully stacking up above the hips, hopefully the hips above the ankle, knees and above the ankles. So taking your palms facing forward, let's go ahead and feel that pressing down and upward energy movement as we inhale, lifting up the shoulders towards the ceiling. And at the top of the inhale, pausing before we exhale, roll them back and down. Let those shoulder blades melt down the back. Fully exhaled, engage the core, belly button to the spine. We're going to do a total of 4 of these. Inhaling, shoulders up. Exhaling, rolling them back and down. See if you can feel a little more rooted, engaged core at the bottom of the exhale. And as we're inhaling, feeling that length, the body cavity in the chest filling up with air. And on the exhale, all that air leaving the body, pressed out by the belly. And after your very last round here, we're going to repeat another set. This time as we inhale, up goes the shoulders again, but this time forward roll the shoulders, completely exhaled here. Another total of 4. Imagine on the exhale, rolling the shoulders forward, but the points of the shoulder blades still melting down the back, tucking into the mid-back. And after your very last round, we'll go ahead and relax the mountain once more. Lift up the feet, reset. See if you can get a little longer, a little taller in your mountain, just coming on up. Gently tucking in the chin as we move towards opening up through the throat, the face. Imagine that string once more lifting up through the crown of the head. As your feet are nice and rooted down, you're finding this opening, rooting downward energy as you're lifting up through the crown of the head energy. And as you're there, just nice and gently engaged core so you can stand up nice and tall. We'll go ahead and inhale completely. Exhale, just let the right ear dip towards the right shoulder. Fully exhaled here. Inhale to lift at the sternum. Exhale, turn the gaze gently, stop where you naturally turn the gaze. Use the next few breath cycles, about 4 again. See if you can inhale, bringing in all that energy. See if the rib cage can expand sideways. And on the exhale, feeling just a little more rooted. Alignment between each major joints, the shoulders in line. hips in line, knees in line, ankles in line. And after your very last exhale, maybe your eyes are resting at your rightmost periphery. Go ahead and inhale the eyes, the gaze, the crown of the head lifting completely at the top of the inhale. So all you have to do is exhale. Bring the left ear towards the left shoulder. Right shoulder and left shoulder in one nice alignment, horizontal line. And then inhaling, exhaling to turn the gaze. And facilitate this release on the right side of your neck, even in the eyes. Maybe a gentle softening of the brow. See if your breath can facilitate the release. Palms facing forward to help keep the shoulders rotated away. And after that very last breath, bring the eyes, the gaze, the crown of the head lifts completely at the top. So all you have to do is gently allow the eyes to roll towards the top of the mat, about 6 feet in front of you. Nice length to the back of the neck. Still some space between the chin and the chest. We're giving ourselves about a tennis ball space there. Imagine on the inhale, you're even vertically at a slight tilt at the crown of the head, moving upwards with each inhale. And finding your support, good rooting from the shoulders all the way down to the heels. Slight engagement at the core, at the thighs, at the feet. See if you can find some release to the back of the neck with each exhale. And after your last breath, let's go ahead and bring the eyes back towards the midline, past the midline, and somewhat above you can stop craning the neck. Just if you can see somewhat above you, that's a good place. We don't want to curve the back of the neck. We want to have some space there as well. And use the next 4 breath cycles, nice and slow. Imagine those ocean-like breaths bringing you release at the front of the mouth, through the tongue, through the jaw, through the throat. Maybe a small O to a larger O. Maybe a gentle swaying of the jaw from left to right. And after you're done with your last breath, you can just let the eyes float downward to the midline. We'll come back to our mountain. Go ahead and shake out any residual activation of muscles from that last pose. And we'll go ahead and start our first series of folds in our walking meditation. So at the back of the mat, in our mountain, go ahead and reset once more. Roll from heels to toes, and then resetting, seeing if you can lengthen through the legs just a little more. Now, as you're there tucking under the tailbone, we can reach downward with our fingers, energizing downward as we inhale to extend the arms up above. And somewhat above us, we can reach up with the torso, and then exhale. Start to hinge at the hips. We're bending our knees if we need, and we're sticking the tailbone back, engaging the core, and slowly floating downwards. Halfway down, you can always walk the hands down if you have your blocks nearby. You can land the hands here. You can just let them dangle with the help of gravity. You might have forearms to the thighs. We want to feel that good column of support from the hips all the way down to the heels. If you feel like you're tipping forward, bring some weight back towards the heels. Feel a good column of support without hyperextending at the back of the knees, but lengthening as it's available to you. And then in our first fold, it's a pretty lengthy one, about 5 breath cycles. We've probably gone about through 2, but see if you can release from the tailbone down the back. Maybe your chest can come a little closer towards the thighs. Maybe your arms might release just a little closer to the floor. See if you're holding on to the weight of your head. Gently bobble the head. See if you can release through the neck. Maybe more and more of the crown of the head might move towards the mat. As you become more acquainted, you get a little more release in your fold. Now, as we come out of this fold, we're going to engage our core. We're coming out with a slow roll up. You can use your hands, you can use your blocks, but wherever your hands are, inhale, start to walk the hands up. With a slow roll up, we're pressing into our feet. We're engaging the thighs, the core is engaged, and we're rolling up 1 vertebra at a time. And somewhere halfway We can tuck under the tailbone, start to press into those legs, lengthen through, bringing up the shoulders. Last thing to stack on the neck is the head. Let the shoulders roll back and down. The blood is rushing back to the head. Give yourself a moment. And we'll go in for our second fold. Go ahead, reach downward, energizing the fingers down. Extend those arms, inhaling up, reaching upwards. Engage the core, start to bend the knees, sticking out the tailbone if you need, and hinge at the hips. Walk the hands down or float on down. Wherever your hands land this time. We're here for 3 breaths, so only 3 breath cycles this time, a little shorter than our first ragdoll of a fold. You can do some other, stretching, small, subtle movements. You can shift the weight from heel to heel. Hips are just in this plane, horizontal plane, just moving a little bit. You can bend one knee, lengthen that leg a little longer maybe, and alternate with the other leg. And then when you're here too, give yourself that time to release. See if your back is holding on to any weight. See if your neck can be released, your arms. See if the crown of the head can be weighted a little more towards the floor. And then with the next inhale, we're going to come up once more with a slow roll up, walking the hands up if you need, or you can come up with a straight back, but either way, engaging the core. Inhaling, you can extend through those arms, coming up, halfway up, hands above the head or somewhat out in front of you, extending all the way up at the top of the inhale, exhaling hands down heart center. We'll begin our walking meditation. Inhale, press into the palms, engage your core. See if you can bring some standing weight to the left side of the body through that left leg. If you can, feel that lifting of the right heel, inhaling. See if you can find that balance to lift the sole of the foot. Exhale the heel or the mid-foot, ball of foot, toes down. Fully exhaled here. Find that balance before you lift up, inhaling the left foot. Engaging the core really helps. Pressing into the palms if you feel a little wobbly. But it's essentially one slow walking meditation. One full breath cycle per foot step. Inhaling the foot up, exhaling it down. And we'll meet at the top of the mat. If you fall out, that's okay. Come on back when you can. But coming back to the top of the mat, we'll look down at our fingertips, pressing into the palms, engaging the core. Press in, inhaling the hands up, separating the palms at the top. Let's go ahead and engage the core once more to hinge for a third time. Sticking the tailbone back, coming on down, float down, walk down. Come on down to wherever your hands might make connection, to the blocks, to the shins, to the forearms, to the thighs, to the feet and the mat, wherever you are, wherever your fingers have contact. We're going to lengthen through the legs for a half lift, lengthen through the back for a half lift. You might have a 90-degree angle at the hips. Might be more of you just lengthening through the back. Maybe it's a little sharper angle. That's okay. Just lengthen. And then exhale. Start to bend the knees. Bring the hands down to the blocks, down to either side of the feet, and start to walk the feet back. Bending the knees deeply as you need. We're going to walk our first high plank. So feet all the way to the back, shoulders over the wrists, and we'll bring the shins down, tops of the feet. You can always tuck the toes under if you need to, but see if you can bear the weight of the body in the lower area between the tops of the feet and the shins. Careful not to put too much weight into the knees, and see if you can bring most of that weight of the upper body over the wrists. If that's a little tender for you, you can always lift up the knees, slide back a little bit, see if you can have less of a 90-degree angle at the wrists. Make sure the fingers are nice and splayed. Forefinger and mid finger up towards the top of the mat. Now, engage your core. Let's tuck the toes. Inhaling, lifting up the hips. Exhale, press into those extended arms. Keep the knees bent if you need to. And we're coming into our down dog by just simply pressing back. The hips are moving back. The hips are moving up. The legs are lengthening downward. The heels do not need to touch the floor. But if you inhale, up to the tiptoes, and then slowly exhale. Maybe you can find a little more release, a little closer lengthening of the heels down towards the floor. But keep that deep bend, especially if you have tightness in the backs of the legs, wherever it may be. So giving ourselves that chance to kind of find our head somewhere in between the upper shoulders. We're going to inhale, look with the eyes, roll the eyes towards the hands. And a deep exhale as we bend the knees and bring the hands, walking the hands with deep bent knees to the back of the throat, to the fold. Fully exhaled here, we can inhale for half lift. Lengthen through the legs, engage the core, and then exhale back towards your fold. And bring that column of support once more at the top of the heels, top of the ankles. We're going to come up with a slow roll up or engaged core with a straight back. But either way, inhaling up, coming all the way back up. Exhaling, hands down, heart center. And we'll come in for a second walking meditation. Inhaling, bringing standing weight to the left leg, right foot up. Exhale it down. Maybe this time your foot might be a little, your knee might get a little higher. Maybe it's still dealing with a low lifting of the foot. Wherever you are in your practice, maintain that slow, steady breath. One breath cycle per step. And at the top of the mat, we'll meet in our mountain, looking down at the fingertips, pressing into the palms. Inhale, watch the fingertips rise. Lifting up at the top of the inhale, separate the palms, engage the core, bend the knees if you need, stick the tailbone back, and we start to hinge at the hips to fold. Walking the hands down if you need. We're just floating all the way down to your fold once more. Inhaling, half lift. Exhaling, fold. Bend the knees deeply if you need. We start to bring the hands to either side of the feet, walking the legs back. And this time it's a high plank. We're going to inhale, engage the core, press into those arms, long shoulders, strong legs. Imagine the energy from the heels down to the balls of the feet. Imagine the shoulders down to the wrists. Imagine that long hypotenuse from the heels all the way to the crown of the head. Belly button sticking to the spine. Inhale, lift up the hips. Exhale, press back into your down dog and situate it once more. We're here for about 3 breath cycles. Deep bends to your knees if you need. We're lifting up, lengthening through the legs, and at the same time, through the arches, hopefully, as is available. Lengthening through the legs, through the arms. Imagine that upside down V shape, or maybe U. And then rolling the eyes towards the hands with an inhale, exhaling, engaging the core, bending the knees if you need, and fully walking the hands back to the fold at the back of the mat. Exhaled here, inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold, and inhale once more. Engage your core, pressing into the feet. Come on up, slow roll up or straight back all the way up. Lengthening at the top of the inhale, exhaling, hands down, heart center. Finally down to the sides. Maybe you're a little warmer. Just give yourself a moment. And it's a great time for some water, especially if you have the heat running, any kind of fan, just having a little parched voice after a little bit of a run there with our body just to warm up our major joints. The water is great. Okay. And as we're moving out of the walking meditation into our balance poses, I'm going to just move to the side, but you can stay where you are in your orientation of the mat. And we're just going to move into our 1 foot square mountain. So as we first came to class and you stepped into your mountain, it was just something to feel as you're arriving. But now that we've done some movement, see if your mountain changes as your feet are directly underneath the hips. See if you can have that heel to toe rocking side to side. See if you can find more of the soles, the skin of the soles of the feet meeting the floor. Notice if your ankles are rolling in or out. Try to have them balanced, not only from side to side, but front to back as well. And as you're doing that, more of the weight towards the ankles, towards the heels. And then seeing, I'm just going to turn to the side. If you've had that interior tilt, the tailbone sticking out all this time as we're walking, we're moving now towards this more upright, more supported position of the body, the joints. Seeing if you can bring that tailbone to tuck under, feeling that good lengthening from the soles of the feet at the balls of the feet all the way up the hips, up the spine. Gentle tuck of the chin. And then we'll go ahead and lift up the arms as we're feeling more of that vertical center of gravity. And if your arms aren't able to go straight up, that's okay. Have them out a little forward. But notice how that changes at your feet, at the foundation there. And as we're inhaling, we're lifting up. As we exhale, go ahead and grab a hold of either elbow. And just note which hand is on which elbow. I'm going to turn around now. We're going to give ourselves one more inhale. One more exhale, feel a little more rooted at the feet. And then we can inhale, arms up. Exhale, grab a hold of the opposite elbow with the opposite hands. And as you inhale, imagine it's almost like you're moving the elbows apart in opposite direction. You might have some opening here at the bottom of the shoulders of the armpit. And then we'll inhale, let the hands just gently float downward. Thumbs upwards, and then we'll go ahead and just let them float on down. At the bottom, we can let them dangle. You can bring the chest forward just slightly. Notice how the center changes to the balls of the feet, to the toes, and then lift back up, bring everything back into alignment. Give yourself a good bounce. You can change off the feet if you need. We'll do that one more time. Inhaling, arms go up. Exhaling, go ahead and grab one wrist, and it doesn't matter how you're holding it, just be comfortable there. Now that same side leg that you have, so I'm grabbing a hold of this hand, this foot, I'm going to make sure that it's nice and anchored, so as we lift up, and then we're just going to start moving over, bringing both balance to everything at the shoulders, at the hips all the way down to the feet. And it's really feeling that opening right here. We don't need that lower here, but really in the armpit. We'll inhale back up to center, hands down, heart center, and just let them relax down because we held them up for a while. You can move the shoulders gently by just swinging the forearms in front of you, maybe moving the shoulders front and back. And then we're going to move to the other side. So you can reset your mountain once more if you need to. And inhaling, arms up. And I took a hold of this side, so now I'm going to go to this side. Maybe it feels a little better to hold it up by a different orientation of that hand, but keeping this right foot pinned down, making sure we don't lift up with it. Inhale, up goes the hand. Exhale, just start to lean over until you stop naturally. Remember that foot is anchoring you to make sure you're feeling most of that stretch up along the armpit. One more inhale. One more exhale, engage the core. And then inhale all the way back up. And let those hands float on down. And once more, be nice and relaxed with those shoulders. Give yourself some movement that feels good. Maybe it's alternate rolling of the shoulders at this point. And then you can shake out your wrists. We'll do that just a little bit here. And we're moving now into, remember last week we were doing some of these swings and then landing with our arms at about the shoulders, right? See where you can go as you're just moving there. And then after a few attempts where you feel comfortable, and you can switch the position of which hand goes to which shoulder. And then you can stop. And then just let the gentle weight of the arms kind of bring a nice stretch to the back of the shoulders. I'm going to turn around, so hopefully you can see you're getting a nice stretch to this upper back region here by just simply holding on to this area here. You can bring the orientation of the eyes maybe a few feet up, a few feet down, get some nice length to the back of the neck, but don't rest the chin on the chest. And then we'll release the arms. Go ahead and move them forward and back. You can alternate them if that feels good. You can just do what feels good to kind of release from that last position. And hopefully you'll remember which shoulders you took a hold of, and we're just going to make the opposite hold this time. And it can take a few while. If it doesn't feel good and you recall, oh, it's not the correct one, positioning, just move to the opposite. And give yourself one more inhale and exhale. See if you can find that space at the back of the shoulders there. And we'll go ahead and release the arms. And this time, as we're moving, hopefully I'll stay in this position, we're moving into an eagle arm sort of situation. So see where you can go. So you can start the swinging motion again, and then see where your hands might land. Maybe you just intertwine your elbows. Maybe you get a hold of the fingers. But once you feel comfortable in this one hold, go ahead and stay here. Shoulders, elbows right about at the shoulders, nice and open. Couple of breaths. Feel the opening, hopefully at the back of the shoulders, a little lower down the back, mid-back. And then we'll slowly release. Let the arms just float back. Notice if you need to change the feet, the foundation, come on back. We'll go to the other side. So swinging once more. And then seeing if you can intertwine opposite arm on top. And don't worry too much about it if you don't know which one is which. It's okay. But once you find that nice spot, you want to make sure that the elbows are somewhat at that chest level. And bringing more of the forearms, more of the palms together. You're just going to get a wider opening at parts of your shoulders. See what's available to you. Finding that sweet spot. Breathing. At least 1 to 2 good breath cycles there. And then we can release. And if you have the shoulder strap, or the strap that we can use for our elbows as we're reaching the back portion now, and for some of us, if we're really tight, we may not even need this. We might just be willing to have our hand reach the sacrum. Maybe we're just happy if our hand can reach the back of the head. So wherever you are, and I'm going to just use the strap as a demonstration. We're going to reset our mountain once more. And inhaling up can go both arms, and then choose which arm goes downward. I'm using my left, and I'm just seeing where I can land. Eventually, we're hoping to bring the elbows in a vertical position to the body, close to the body, and more upwards. If they're way out here, we're just working on getting them inward. We're working on lowering the shoulder on the bottom and relaxing the shoulder on top so we can bring them closer to each other. And if you're here, just work where you can. If you have that strap, once you find your edge, you can always keep yourself in that position by holding the strap. Once you find your sweet spot, give yourself about 5 good breath cycles. Want to make sure that you're standing in your mountain with only those muscles activated that you need to keep your general shape and form. And as we're moving towards opening up through the armpit, through the shoulders, through all those tight muscles around our upper shoulder, mid-back. And after 5 full breath cycles, inhales and exhales, pauses in between, we'll just slowly release and just let the gentle slope of the shoulders relax with the weight of the arms, just simply at the side. You might gently tuck under the chin, just slightly. See if you can find that length at the back of the neck. And then we'll do the same thing, but with the other side. So hopefully you can remember, I had my right arm up. This time my left arm will be up. So inhaling both, and then keeping the right arm down and seeing where those elbows are. Where can I gently bring the bend of the elbows to guide the hands closer down the back. And I'm much tighter on this side. This is a great time for using whatever you can to help you condition more relaxing responses, enduring just a little more lengthening, noticing the tightness if you haven't noticed it before, and breathing through it. And again, it takes you about 3 to 5 breath cycles to find your sweet spot. And from there, just breathe like you're on an ocean. And maybe by one of those last exhales, you might find something just releasing on its own, something you did not even know you were holding. When you're ready, you can release through the strap, bringing the top arm down, just letting the shoulders be nice and soft. Make any movements once you've returned from that long stretch. Make any movements that feels good to kind of release any still activated shoulder muscles or lengthening. Sometimes just wiggling the fingers. And we've been working so diligently on the upper part of our body. Maybe we didn't think about what was going on at the feet. So revisit that, and you might just bring some standing weight to your left leg and roll gently the right ankle. Just see where that is. You should have a little more activation of your standing weight muscles, so that it should be okay to just explore. Rolling in one direction, rolling in the other. Come back to standing weight on both legs. And then bring standing weight to the opposite leg. Let that other ankle find a little release. Maybe the ankle roll is just a little easier at this point. Okay. And then we'll come on down to our staff position, either down on the mat, or if you're more comfortable working your staff from a chair, just make sure that you have your chair stabilized. If you're on a linoleum floor like this one, I'm going to turn to the side. You can be in the front, you can be to the side. The advantage to being on the side is you can always drape an arm at the back of the chair. And hopefully you're finding the edge. This one kind of dips on the inside, but if you're on the mat or if you're on the chair, either way, we want to sit up on our sits bones. We want to make sure we're all the way sitting upright at a nice, as best of a 90-degree angle that we can. Now, if sitting on the floor means that you're hunching a little more and you're sitting more on your tailbone and the sacrum's rolling back, you might want to sit on a rolled blanket, on a higher bolster, maybe a couple of blocks, maybe one block, but something to help you to feel upright. And if you're in that transition, just work where you can. You can have one more drink of water. And all we're doing is just lengthening through our legs once we find that orientation of our sits bones. If you're at the chair, you're just lengthening out the legs. You might have a bend to the knees, and that's okay. Just work on lengthening and relaxing through the legs, and then bringing them a little closer, so they're about hips distance apart. And as we're seated here, nice and tall, upright, and imagine your tailbone up your spine, the neck, through the crown of the head, a little string pulling it all up, so that all you have to do on the exhale is engage this core and start to walk the hands, hinging at the hips, downward. And you might need to bring the toes down if you're at the chair. But you just want to bring the torso closer to the thighs as you're hinging here, and then you can stop where you need to. Now, if you're down on the mat and your staff is turning more into a forward fold, then that's great for you. You just need to focus on releasing through the hips so you can move the torso forward at that hinge point, and then you stop. Now, if you're a little higher up here and that's where you are, then go ahead and upper shoulders can roll, and you can just relax through here. You might be holding up some part of the head, the chin, maybe the forearms are resting, maybe some gently balled fists to support the chin. You might have a block somewhere between your chest and your thighs if you're a little closer. Wherever you are at that special sweet spot, we're breathing 5 to 10 breath cycles. I'm going to meet down on a mat. You can slowly breathe in, bringing that pause before you slowly breathe out. And just sitting where you are, noticing what's going on in the body. As you come to your last breath cycle, coming out of our forward fold, we're just going to walk the hands back up the legs, avoiding the knees, keeping the torso nice and tall as we bring it back in line in our staff, either at the chair or back here on the mat. We're going to sit up nice and tall once more, pressing out through the heels and then relaxing, allowing the legs once more. Tap out through the knees if you need. And then with the next movement, we're just bringing a bend to our left knee, our left leg. So we may need to lean back a little bit. And in the chair, you can do that as well, but start to bring the heel down on the floor a little closer, just bending the knee to where you can manage. So if you can bring the heel closer towards perineum as you're able to sit upright and maintain that upright seated position. And again, it might take us just a little bit of time to be able to bend the knee, bringing up that hinge once more at the hips, bringing that left foot a little closer to our seat. And if you're on the chair, you're just bending the knee, bringing that left foot into more of that 90-degree position, where the left foot is eventually just under your knee. If you can go beyond that position, you can just bend the knee and bring your hands to the shins. See if you can just bring the top of the toes under the seat, wherever you can. Just bending that knee, hinging at the hip. And it takes us about that same time, 3 to 5 breath cycles, giving yourself about 5 good long breaths. And if it's a struggle to hold on to that, come back out. Go back in with a little less intensity. And after your last breath, we'll go ahead and release our hold on the leg and start to draw that leg back down. You can tap out the knee, you can point the toes, flex the foot. Just gently let the foot wave from side to side. Get a gentle, small, subtle movement of rotating out and in. And then notice if you can bring your sits bones just a little more onto the mat. We'll move over to the other side. So sitting up nice and tall once more, press out through the heels, lengthening through the legs, and then relaxing, just seeing hopefully the knee and toes still pointing towards the ceiling. And then we can start to bend the right knee, inhaling, bending the right knee to wherever we can bring that right sole of the foot closer towards our seat area. And hopefully keeping our spine upright. And I'm much tighter on this side of the hip. So for me, I'm feeling that deep bend at the lower back. But if you're in that staff position at the mat, you want to keep the upright position at the sits bones. So I'm going to transition back up to the chair. See if that's a little more comfortable with this right side. And as we're eventually bringing more of the sole of the foot towards the perineum, you might have a block if you're at the chair, bringing that level of the hip and the knee, where the knee is a little higher than the hip, as we get a little closer. And eventually, if you're able to grab a hold of the shins and just gently hug in that foot, that knee. But we're just transitioning where we can. As we're nearing the end of the 5 breaths. We'll just go ahead and bring out the foot. Remove any props. And we'll be coming into laying on your back in a bridge position. So if you're on the mat, go ahead and transition into your bridge. If you're here on the chair, we're just going to be moving from a bridge where we're just giving ourselves some windshield wiping with our knees. So you can sit at the edge of the chair and just give ourselves a little leaning back. And we're just going to be rolling as we usually do at the soles of the feet from side to side. And then eventually we'll be joining our Shavasana. So if you're in the chair, you can Shavasana in an upright seated position like this. But down on the mat at our base bridge position. And here, if you know you have compression at the lower back, at the neck, remember a folded blanket, mat, even a block, thin block might help. I have a bony sacrum, so sometimes just having a little bit of extra cushion is so nice there as we're in our bridge position. And here, the knees are pointing towards the ceiling. We've got our feet about hips distance apart. And whether you're in the chair, at the edge of the seat, we're just going to gently let the knees roll towards one side so that we're just rolling at the soles of the feet to the right side of the soles of the feet. And your knees might be way up there. Maybe they didn't move over to the right side as much. Or you might have your right thigh completely down on the floor while your left knee is maybe resting on the calf. Just depends on how deep your first initial windshield wipe on one side can be. And you're lifting up on the left side of your hip, your left side of your sacrum as you bring more of that rotation towards the right side. But remember, the feet are still pretty much in the same position, just rolling to the edge. And we're on the right edge of our feet. Take a few deep breaths here. You might find that lengthening at the top of the thigh. You might feel something on that inner curvature of the pelvis. See if you can find the muscles in between the rib cage, just nice and long, expanding with each deep inhale. And as we've been here on this side for about 5 breath cycles, come on out. You can imagine helping your hands up on either side of your thighs if you need, but we're just rolling the sacrum back onto the mat. Inhaling up, the knees come up, and once more. You can just give yourself a gentle pigeon orientation, pigeon toe at the toes, let the heels kind of splay out just a little bit, and maybe the knees will knock inward. Give yourself just a moment here. Breathe deeply. Inhaling and exhaling, and then we'll reorient the feet once more. Heel to toe alignment in our base bridge position. Knees are up towards the ceiling. Hands are out at the side. Maybe the palms are up, maybe they're down. But just give yourself a little bit of time here and slowly let the knees fall to the left. And they'll just be where they need to be as you're rolling onto the left edge of your feet, exactly where they are in that base bridge position. As more of the knees roll to the left side, you might have more of your right hip, right side of the sacrum curling upwards. And just breathe, giving ourselves some time to find that space. And then just giving ourselves the breaths in that space. As you approach your last breath cycle, you can think about helping the thighs back up to center, knees towards the ceiling, sacrum rolling back onto the mat. Soles of the feet nice and flat, back at the base bridge position. And then we can move into our Shavasana. We'll go ahead and start by lowering one leg at a time. And you might have still those tented hips. Maybe there's still that idea of flexion with those muscles. So give yourself some breaths. You might have a thigh that is lifted. You might have calves. They're still off the floor. Maybe a gentle inhale, lengthening through that leg, and a flexion of the foot, pressing out through the heel, and then just relaxing that leg. Just letting it be where it's going to be. Then letting the opposite leg, the right leg, lengthen downward. Giving accommodation as your body starts to unfold and lengthen, once more supported on the floor. As we're shifting into our Shavasana, see if there's anything that you can use, a blanket, extra cushioning. Maybe you don't want any cushions, maybe just keeping the bend to the knees in that base bridge and letting the knees knock inward and maybe touch, and just gently allowing that position instead of a full length, full long legs of a regular Shavasana, traditional Shavasana. It's up to you. Just allow this final stage to be that time where you respond to today's practice. I'll be sitting upright to mind the time. But as you enjoy that quieter stage, you can let the tongue release from the top of the mouth if it's there. Let it be cradled in the lower jaw. Let the belly be nice and soft. Palms can be facing upward. Palms can be down. Just get comfortable. And if any thoughts should come up, that's great. Note it. And then let your attention come back to the breath. When you hear the 3 bells, we'll awaken. bringing the mind back to the body. Take note of sounds outside the room, sounds within the room, and finally back to the breath. Notice how the air enters the body through the nose, lifting the chest, expanding the rib cage. Notice how as the air leaves the nose, the shoulders soften, the belly falls. And as you make your way back to the body vessel once more, you can wiggle your fingers, rock the body, point and flex the toes. Do whatever feels good to you to re-inhabit the body vessel once more. We'll meet in an upright seated position of your choice. And we'll end our class with our alternate nostril breathing exercise. Sitting upright on your sits bones. Bringing the left hand into our chin mudra. It's just the index and the thumb touching, letting the back of that hand rest on your left thigh. The right hand, Vishnu mudra, some sort of two-finger position at the mount of the thumb closing the right nostril, the ring finger tip closing the left nostril. And you can always just have these two fingers at the brow line instead and just close like so if you need. We'll go ahead and sit up nice and tall with one breath in, closing the nostril, the right nostril with the right thumb. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Close. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Close. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Close. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Close. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Close. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Close. Exhale through the left. Last round. Inhale through the left. Close. Exhale through the right. Remove the right hand. Release the mudras. Let the breath come back to its natural state. Bringing hands to heart center. Thank you so much for joining us here at the ACC Community Room for Noontime Yoga. I hope you have a wonderful day. Namaste. Yay. Oh, thank you, Valerie. Thank you. Thank you all. If you have any questions or comments, I'm here for the next little bits, as it takes a little while to get out now. Hope you have a wonderful day.